last night before Thanksgiving, or last class anyway before Thanksgiving. Tonight we're going to go over Linux, or not just Linux, but network distros for network security. And some of the distributions that are out here. I also have up here on the desk, I have a few copies of Ubuntu NT-Reset. The one I'm downloading that's taking forever, that you guys can download yourself too, I guess, is we'll talk about tonight. It's all in one. But this website here, portableapps.com, I've mentioned it a few times. If you don't already use it on your USB drive, I do recommend using it. It has a suite that you can install. And then from this install, you can go out and add other apps like network security and such. So let me show you real quick on that before we get to the presentation, what that looks like. On the overhead, I have a fairly new install of this one on my USB drive. I wiped out a lot of stuff. So if I go out here and go to apps and get more apps, I can go by category, title, new release, or recently updated. So I'll go by category. And it's going to go to the portableapp.com directory and browse for whatever it is I search for, whether it be network security, utilities, media. It's been out for about 5 years. It is updated on a monthly basis, the distributions are, and are constantly adding new suites to it all the time. And what's great about it is it's portable. You can take it anywhere that you're at. Basically, you have the apps you need and the programs you need. So if you look on the overhead real quick, let me just show you some of the apps that are in here. We'll go down to those of you maybe in development. Here's a C++ checker here. It's an analysis tool. Those of you who are in any type of app development. There's a Notepad 2, SQL database manager here, a XAMPP launcher for those of you who have done any web development. That you've heard of that.
Now, launcher or the actual client?
The actual client. Yeah, it launches. You can actually have XAMPP on your USB drive, and it launches it from the USB drive.
That?
Yeah.
No.
Games. We'll skip that. They got a lot of games.
All this is in the setup folder?
Do I know?
All this stuff is in the setup folder from the download?
Yeah, when you go to search for the apps, yeah, it takes you to this directory. You just check mark the one you want. Like say, for instance, if I wanted to add GIMP Portable, which is an image editor, I could add that. So here's all my graphics stuff. But let's go to the music. There's music and video, Office. It's got the full open Office here that you can download. And it tells you the size too on the right side when you check on these. And if I was to click next, it would tell me how long, what the size is and how long it would take to download. Scribus is kind of like a portable desktop publisher like Quark. You might have heard of that before. Okay, here's security. ClamWin Portable. It's a full antivirus software that can run off a USB drive. Erase Portable. It does that secure data eraser we talked about, the zeroing out of data. That one does that, totally free. KeyPass will keep all your password management. PeerBlock is a firewall based on black and white list that you can actually run while you're on a PC. Or SpyBot, that's a real popular one where you can remove and destroy SpyBot components. And then they got a lot of cool utilities, like a real popular one I use a lot is 7-zip. 7-zips is a decompressor for a lot of different formats, a lot of different zip formats like RAR, zip. The other one, Cam Studio, this is a screen recorder. That one does pretty good, utility-wise. This HD Hacker is an MBR and boot sector manager. If your MBR, which is a boot sector manager of Windows XP 7, Vista, and 8, allows you to go in and manage that and refresh it and a lot of times fix it dynamically. If you're into Java, it has a JPortable, which is a portable Java runtime environment. And then a network diagnostic tool. This one's actually fairly new. It's really small. This WinMTR Portable. is a network diagnostic tool that allows you to go out and view IP, TCP/IP, UDP, kind of like we do locally with a couple apps we use this semester locally, Wireshark being one. So it's kind of like a dumbed down Wireshark. So that's all in the directory when you go to apps and get more apps by category, title, new release, or recently updated. So I just did a fresh install of this one, so I don't have a lot in this one, just to show you all of them in there. It'll also tell you how much size, what you have free left in your USB drive. This is an 8 gig drive, so 4.5 gigs free. And so that's one I definitely highly recommend using all the time if you're going to be, in network security or any part of networking. It's going to help you a lot. But I want to kind of go over some network distros. You've heard of some of these that we're going to go over tonight. And again, I do have some distros already up here duplicated. Ubuntu, I have a few copies. NT Reset, one more copy. But there's all this stuff here where I'm going to talk about you guys can download. The first is BackTrack. You guys have heard of this one maybe. And we're going to talk about another one here in just a second that's past this one that actually runs BackTrack off a USB drive. That's one I recommend. But BackTrack is probably the most up-to-date network security tool. It's a Linux-based penetration tool. Has an arsenal of apps in there. It can boot live from a DVD or a thumb drive, like I'll talk about tonight. And there's a website for BackTrack, backtrack-linux.org. The screenshot here gives you one of the examples of the lessons it has on the site. This is a lesson called Social Engineering Toolkit. It's creating a fake website to your own box. It's a little write-up on the new Java applet attack on the Social Engineering Toolkit, and it's a clone site and a trick a target into visiting it. And so it basically shows how to create a honeypot website using this tool. And so on the website, backtrack-linux.org has tons of tutorials on how to use the tool. And so I definitely recommend it. Going to the site, and it's hundreds and hundreds of them on there. STD, Knoppix is a Linux-based security tool we've talked about in here. It has hundreds, if not thousands, of open source security tools on the CD. It's a live distro, which means it runs totally from the CD in memory. I believe I handed this out one to you guys already, but there's a newer distro up there already tonight, and so I didn't download that one. Its sole purpose is to put as many security tools at your disposal with a pretty slick interface. You just right-click and go throughout the interface to see the different menus. It's meant to be used by both novice and professional. It says here, it assumes that you know the basics of Linux. Most of your work will be done from command line. If you're completely new to Linux, and I've mentioned this distro already, it's best to start with another live distro like Knoppix. And you can just go to knoppix.org. Knoppix.org is about a 600 meg download, all the way up to a 4 gig download with everything in it. So they have a 600 meg version. I think they have a 4 gig version of this one. The 4 gig version is definitely going to have more stuff to play with, but you can start with a 600 meg, which will fit on a CDR easily. When you download all of these we're talking about tonight, they download to an ISO, and then you burn that ISO to a DVD. This is the one I recommend. I've used for probably about a year and a half. It's called Katana. It's a portable multi-boot security suite which brings together many of today's best security distributions on a portable app. It runs off your flash drive. It includes penetration testing, auditing, forensics, system recovery, network analysis, malware removal. It also comes with 100 portable Windows apps such as Wireshark, Metasploit, NMAP, Cain Abel, which we've used that in here. Now, what's cool about this distro is it boots off the USB. It has a little setup for you. I'll show you the website in a second. It has a setup once you download the 4 gig file. You have to have an 8 gig USB drive. You basically convert your USB drive to be able to boot from. And so you can boot it from a USB drive, and it becomes a full OS, which you can branch off into other Linux distributions, one of them being BackTrack. There's other ones also on that one. But if you don't want to boot it up via the Linux route, you can also run it inside of portableapps.com. That's why I mentioned that earlier, because when you install Katana, it uses portableapps.com as its background for the OS. And so when you run Katana, it installs automatically portableapps.com onto your USB drive and over 100 Windows network security apps. As it mentions here, Wireshark, Metasploit, Cain Abel. One you guys have used in here is Wireshark. Two you've used, Wireshark and Cain Abel. You're familiar with those. NMAP you might have played with as well. And so this one's the best scenario because what's great about it, it runs off a USB, it installs off a USB and boots from it, or it runs from Windows. It is a pretty hefty download, but most of them are about 4 gigs today anyway for the downloads for Linux. And let me take you to the site real quick to show you that. The site is hackfromacave.com. You like that? Slay your gnomes, protect your 127.0.0.1, which is what?
Home.
Yeah, your local host, your home. All right. Now this has the different projects on the site. The one we're on is Katana. One goes right to the site. It has a description. I already went over any news, but where you go to the after you go to the download, which is a 4 gig one, on the installation it gives you step by step. The colors have a little bit of desire on the website, but that's irregardless. Once you download the RAR file, it's a 4 gig one. You extract that RAR file to the root of your USB drive. Then you change a directory, and you basically to a boot directory, and you run the following administrative privileges. It tells you what to do in Linux, tells you what to do in Windows. Make sure the BIOS allows a US boot, which most of your computers already do. Now look what the screen looks like when it pops up. Katana 2.0. There's the actual choices you have to run off of a USB drive as a distro. You've got BackTrack, which we've already talked about. That's a 4 gig download by itself, but it decompresses it or compresses it to be able to fit on this. Ultimate Boot CD, that's a popular one to rescue your data. We talked about this last week. This one allows you to go in and to bind a NTFS drive and be able to copy data onto your USB drive. So say if a Windows system crashes, you can use Ultimate Boot CD to do that. UBCD4Win, another security distro. Trinity's another security distro. OPH Crack is a penetration distro only. It does like penetration testing on Wi-Fi, wired, both. Cain is a Linux version of Cain Abel. Clonezilla is if you want to be able to clone a hard drive, even a Windows, Linux, Mac, doesn't matter, you can use Clonezilla to do that. Because Clonezilla runs off, this whole thing runs off your USB drive, and so technically what you would do using Clonezilla, which I've used before, is you plug in another USB drive along with this one on the computer, you start Clonezilla, and then you're able to basically image that hard drive to an external drive without starting that Windows computer, which works great. It's open source. Puppy's been around for a long time. It's just another small Linux distro. Derek's Boot and Nuke is a fairly new security distro. And then Conboot is also another security distro, a small one. So that's all in the Katana boot menu. That's crazy what they put on this. Because they do RAR, the RAR is a compressed file that they use, but they compress it with 7-zip, which I talked about earlier, which does compress things a lot of times about 6 to 7 times more than Windows zip and RAR by itself. And so that's why they're able to get all this stuff into that USB drive when you compress it and set it up. So I definitely recommend Katana over everything. Once you download the 4 gig drive and you go through the steps that it has you go through here on the install, It takes, once the download's done and you have a fresh USB 8 gig drive is a minimum, which most of you have more than that, but at least you have to have a free 8 gig space. In fact, I tell students just have a brand new one or wipe the existing one you have out, because it's best to just wipe that USB drive out and start from scratch when you install this. But once you do that, once the 4 gig file's downloaded, which at home that shouldn't take too long for you to do. I think when I tried it a couple weeks ago, it was like 20 minutes to download a 4 gig from their, they have four or five different locations to try from. Just find the one that's fastest and use that. It literally takes about 15 minutes to set it up once you're done downloading from start to finish. To create a USB boot from that USB drive by following the steps here, and that's it. And so when you boot up, when you start in Windows and you plug in the USB drive, it looks like this one. In fact, if you see on my computer here, you can tell this was a Katana drive because it still has a Katana label on my E drive because I just recently wiped it out. And so that's what yours would look like. It would look like whatever drive it is for your USB drive, it would say Katana on it. You double click on it and it starts it up. And the menu would look just like this, but it would have all your security tools in here, where this one does not, available for you. Okay? And so that one I definitely recommend to do. If any of them I recommend, that's the one I recommend to use. Because most of you guys don't use CDs anymore anyway, or DVDs, or very rarely. So the USB is going to be the way to go in my mind for you, right? A USB drive. I mean, how many uses CDs and DVDs on a daily basis? Seriously. So how many use your USB thumb drive on a daily basis? Okay. But if you were going to use one, that's what you would use, is USB versus a CD, DVD. And so this is what I definitely recommend to do. And when you create this one and it's successfully created with Katana, I always tell students just to right-click on that USB drive and back it up. Back up that USB drive that you just created, because you're gonna mess stuff up the first day or two you're playing with it, right? You're gonna mess it up. So if you have it backed up, no big deal. You can always restore it. And so back it up as soon as you get it set up right. Granted, to wipe it out and start all over again only takes 15 minutes anyway, because you're gonna have that original download to start with. So Katana's definitely highly recommended. Runs from Windows, runs from a USB drive with the boot menu I just showed you, and it is a 4 gig download. The next one is Network Security Toolkit. It's a Fedora-based Live CD. In Linux world, you've got different kernels. Fedora is one of them. Red Hat is another. Out of the two, Red Hat's going to be the most popular distro within Linux. It's kind of a base model for Linux. But Fedora is the other one. And Fedora is it's a live CD here, this Network Security Toolkit, with a network security analysis, validation, monitoring software that can utilize enterprise virtual servers. It can host virtual servers. Its main aim is to provide network administrators with a complete set of open source security tools. It's equipped with an advanced web user interface that's used for configuring network and security apps, automation, and other tasks. Among other features, it has a browser-based packet control or capture monitoring system that can monitor up to 4 network interfaces using Wireshark. I haven't used this one about a year and a half, but it's pretty cool. It's worth playing with and looking at anyway. I didn't like it as much as Katana, but all these are worth looking at and seeing which one you know, at least knowing about it. Here's a screen of this one. It just shows a basic menu, application menu on this. So that's Network Security Toolkit. Pentoo is another one. It's a live CD, and it's created mainly for penetration testing and security assessment. It's based on Gentoo, which is just a Linux distro like Knoppix. It's available on both 32 or 64-bit. So if you have a 64-bit, all these distros we're talking about tonight do have a 64-bit download for you. And that'll be something you guys will need to be aware of when you're downloading the ISOs, is you want to be aware of, you will have choices in all of these downloads for 32 and 64-bit machines or operating systems that you want to run off of. So This one actually has a packet injection Wi-Fi driver. It prides itself in that, Pentoo does. It also has cracking software, GPGPU, and plenty of good tools for penetration testing, security assessment. Currently, Pentoo's default window manager is called Enlightenment, which is a fairly new desktop manager. Because the desktop manager that you might have heard of is KDE and GNOME, the two popular desktop managers. KDE, GNOME, and then this one here is Enlightenment. And I've actually not used that one at all. Enlightenment, spelling it wrong. But the most popular is going to be your KDE and GNOME, these two. This one is more of a base. It's more non-GUI. A lot of command lines in the GNOME interface. If you're used to Windows, which most of you would be, this is the one I'd recommend downloading anytime you see the choice is a KDE desktop versus a GNOME desktop. So that one's out there for you to try. Again, it's a live CD. In fact, all these we're talking about are all live CDs. None of these install to your hard drive, even the Ubuntu doesn't. Ubuntu doesn't. The Katana doesn't. Here's a screenshot of this one. And basically, again, a right-click menu throughout. You can right-click anywhere basically and get this menu of all the options, all the apps that are on there. Helix, this is a Ubuntu Live CD, especially made for system analysis, data recovery, security auditing, and incident response. It runs in two modes, a Linux mode, which boots in native Linux, and Windows mode. This one I've heard good things about. I've not had a chance to play with this one. What it means is, in the Windows mode, you literally can run it as a regular application. It'll start an entire Linux operating system within a double click on a desktop. And so that one's supposed to be pretty sweet. I've heard good things about it. I've just not had time to play with it. Helix is mainly aimed towards experienced users and network administrators who are working in computer networks that are constantly bombarded with high level of security threats, breaches, and data loss. And so it's supposed to, I've heard good things about it, read good reviews, just not had time to play with it. The one thing I would like to play with is the Windows mode, being able to run this with inside a Windows system like a normal app. That would be kind of cool to be able to see that work. I have run other Linux distros within Windows, but they haven't really worked that well. So this one I've heard good things about. Helix, efence.com/Helix on that one. It's got a fairly good website as far as information. Yeah, the motto for the site here is don't let your company data walk out the door. And then it goes into, they do have an enterprise version. Now, they do charge for this because remember I told you last week, even though Linux is free and open source, the support for like Helix is going to cost. But if you go to this website here and go to products, they'll have all the different products available. You got Helix Enterprise, Live Response, and Helix Pro. Live Response here is a, this runs from a USB thumb drive. And it looks like on this one here, you just buy the whole thing and it sends you the USB drive with the data on it, with the program on it. Which might not be too bad. I don't know how much it is. Let's see what it is. Oh, $500. I'm not doing that. I'm pretty proud of that. I have heard good things about it, so I'm not saying it's not good. Let's see here. Yeah, because I don't think you can even download anything from this one. Maybe I'm wrong. There's probably some place you can download a free demo or something, possibly. Let's see anything on here. Let's see. Yeah, Helix 3, that's going to cost, live responses cost, it looks like they have nothing free on the site. That's not to say, though, you probably couldn't find this. If you search Google to find this, you could probably find a distro somewhere. And that's the thing with Linux, too, just so you know. What?
We don't find it weird that they've got Carpe Diem underneath their logo.
They've got what?
Where?
Carpe diem.
Oh, data. I read it wrong. Never mind.
Yeah, I've heard good things about them, so you don't have to worry about it. But you're probably not going to get it anyway, unless you do this site anyway, because it's $500 for the cheapest one. It looks like. But you know, if you do a search, I'm guessing you can find some information somewhere about it. Again, I've not played with it. Probably why? Because it's $500. So that is the distro lab, the distro informational session on Tuesday. Now I do have, if you wouldn't mind, did everybody get Ubuntu, or who did not get the Ubuntu DVD? Who did not get the Ubuntu DVD? What about the STD Knoppix that we passed out a week 2 or 3, I believe, in here? Nada? Who didn't get that?
I don't remember that one.
STD Knoppix, did you guys not get that? Because I need to get that to you.
I don't remember getting that one.
You didn't get the STD Knoppix?
I remember Ubuntu, and I remember...
Well, STD Knoppix, did you get the Ubuntu? Did I give you the Ubuntu?
We got the Ubuntu.
Okay.
We got the Network Plus. We got
Password reset.
password reset.
NT-password reset, but not STD Knoppix.
That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend. The STD Knoppix hasn't been updated in like 2 years, so I wouldn't even recommend getting that one anymore. If I was recommend one, to be the Katana one. Just so you know, I started downloading Katana when you guys came in, just to see how long it would take here. So let me show you where I'm at time-wise. Okay. It looks like 20 minutes left, and I started right about 4:20, downloading a 4 gig file, and about 20 minutes left, so that's not too bad. And on campus is dirt slow. So if you do it at home, I'm guessing, I don't know, how many downloads big files like that?
If you've got charter
It would take you
30 meg,
7
you can do it
days.
in about...
7 days?
You think the internet's slow here?
The cloud
Well-
can interfere with your internet.
Oh, well, let me show you here real quick, because I'll put this up here on the...
Hands it force.
I think I put the link, the direct link I've been using on this one.
Did I tell you Dad messed it up the other day? He spliced the wire cable, so we didn't have so much access. And
Okay, let me show you. This is I'll put the link actually in this PowerPoint that I recommend downloading it from. Let me show you. Go here to download. It's this one right here. That's Virginia Tech. The second one is a good one. It's a pretty fast one. On my Wi-Fi, it was faster than wired. But you want to download this RAR file here. And so let me put that in the actual PowerPoint, and I'll put that on this week's. I'll put that on this week's folder for you guys. So that's the one you want to actually use to download, that mirrored one there. Now granted, on the wired it was slower than Wi-Fi, believe it or not. I'm running around 130 KB per second, but at home I'm guessing it should be faster than that, I'm guessing. When I ran it here, I was quite a bit faster on Wi-Fi, but at home I think I downloaded it 2 weeks ago on Comcast, and it took about 45 minutes for a 4 gig file, something like that. It was around midnight. I'd suggest downloading all these after midnight on any, regardless what your provider is, okay? If it's dirt slow on your house, go to a free Wi-Fi hotspot and download it there.
Or use a download manager, it's like Comcast, you can really manipulate them.
Well, you know, I'm trying to think. Culver's on Office State has free Wi-Fi, super fast. If you don't,
Parks, Cafe, or whatever it's called.
Rock cut.
Yeah.
Rock Cut.
They're
Yeah.
extremely fast.
There you go. And where's that located at now?
In Rock cut on the lake.
Oh, anywhere at Rock Cut.
Gateway
Not-
is fast too outside the building.
Sweet.
You don't even have to go in. You
So you can go fishing and download your
At the most,
ISO.
take your laptop, dunk it in the water while it's trying to download. See
Well, I
if
was
it
like,
finishes.
Okay.
Like my router's like, 10 feet away.
So do you guys have questions on these distros? Because most of you have not used a lot of these, and you know, these distros are probably going to be something you will want to use. Questions on it? How I've used it or whatever?
Crack?
Yeah, off track, yeah.
It's for resetting passwords.
Yeah.
It's for reset.
It's for resetting passwords?
Yeah.
Yeah, for mostly resetting password. It does crack passwords as well, I believe. Has a
This cracks passwords.
Yeah, it does.
Rainbow table.
Yeah, it does. It does crack passwords. Yep. And any of these tools that we're using or that I'm talking about in Katana could be used, and hackers do use them. But, you know, as a network admin, it's probably good to have these in your arsenal and be able to play with them. And like the Katana website has really good resources on labs that you can do, and BackTrack has a good one too, resources on labs. And pick and choose, because you can literally, you know, spend a lot of time on this, but you want to pick and choose your battles wisely, I guess, with this. But like if you're into like the passwords, how people get passwords from your network, focus on that, Cain Abel, things of that nature. Because still today, Cain Abel is the #1 used network security tool for hackers when they come into a business to get passwords. Cain Abel they use a lot. And so you can do penetration tests on your network to see just what you can get.
One thing I'd like to do is, you're surfing a website and then you get the spam, and be able to send a reverse spam back to the original, to the place where it came from.
Well, like an email spam or a pop-up spam.
Just like when you
The
search a
reverse-
website or whatever,
yeah.
and all of a sudden you're spamming, all of a sudden there's toolbars installed.
I'm sure there's something out there like that. I'm sure there is.
Be able to, like, it would be like a
Yeah.
reversal, you know?
Find the IP address and reverse it.
Someone like, it's like, to break it down to a simpler form, like someone sends me an email, all of a sudden I just send an email, and all of a sudden their stuff's all messed up.
Right.
You know, just, I mean, like automatically, as soon as something, you know, they try to send me,
Right.
it's malicious, be able to send it back to them, their network, their file system structure.
Right.
Everything like that.
Well, a lot of times these phished websites that you're talking about that do this, when you go to ping them, you're not really pinging the real website or the real server it's coming from.
Yeah.
They have redirects all over the place.
Yeah, I've thought about that.
And so they have like proxy servers is what it's called. They basically set up a proxy server to where their IP address is not, that you see is not their IP address. It's a proxy server somewhere. So if you were to send something back to that server, it really wouldn't do anything to the hacker or to the service that's doing the damage. But the one thing you can do is immediately quarantine that IP address, and you can also, because these pop up all the time, submit it to folks like Barracuda, which constantly has millions and millions of devices all over the world and updating their devices with bad IP addresses or spoofed IP addresses. And then those are the folks you want to submit stuff like that to. Because you can, as a network admin, do that. You can submit, if you find something's coming from a website that's malicious in nature, or people visit that website at your workplace, you can submit that. To Barracuda is the best place to submit it to, because when you submit it to Barracuda, they take that information, and other services like even McAfee uses Barracuda now as their main source for finding out phished websites, and so, or phished emails.
Barracuda, like a specific website then?
Barracuda, if you have a device, you can do it within the device. If you don't have the device, they actually have a website that you can go to. Let me show you real quick. It's barracudanetworks.com. And they have tons of different products. One of them is a spam filter, email spam filter. Let's go to the classic website so it's be less intensive on my computer here. So it's loading up the old one here. Okay, I want to go to support. Tech alerts is one. We can sign up for tech alerts on new stuff coming out. And in tech alerts, it actually gives you the newest that just came out. Like it has here, security violations, suspension of spam. But then if you do a support case, notice where it says Barracuda Network Products. You can say none, and then here is where you actually type in your information, submit it to them. That's one way. There's another one they had. They changed the, here it is, spam spyware submission. There we go. Spam spyware submission virus URL submission. This is the one you want to bookmark, I guess. All you do is copy and paste the email into this box. Here, hit send, and it sends it to them, that information. It says if you have a spyware package or binary, you can upload it for them to analyze it. Virus, if you have a virus program, package or email, you can upload it. Website, you can put the URL in here, tell what it did on your site. So whether it be, pornography, gaming, hacking, whatever, submit it. And so this is a really good site to bookmark. And so that one I might put in the, I'll put that actually in the PowerPoint. Let's do that. I'll put that in PowerPoint here. And I'll just put submit, we'll put submit bad stuff. We'll put it up here. That's the actual URL you'd want to bookmark right there. And this will be in week 14. I'll put it in there, this whole PowerPoint. That's a good question, though, because a lot of people want to know that, where do you submit stuff when you find it? Most people just don't do anything. They just, you and I probably just shut it down. We just don't go to it again. But some people keep clicking on it all day long. And this site's great because they just updated it too. I like how you can have the ability to upload programs you think might be infected or might be a virus. They'll investigate it for you and email you back whether or not it is or not. And so that's really nice. And totally free, doesn't cost anything. So Barracuda is the #1 spam email filter database out there right now. They do sell hardware, but you can submit stuff and find support free through their website. Definitely recommend that. Spiceworks.com is another place you can find current viruses and current malware that's out there. Totally free, doesn't cost anything. Spiceworks.com. And trying to think of what else. That's probably the websites I would recommend off the top of my head that I use a lot. Any other questions as far as penetration testing tools? Any tools you guys have used that you've liked when it comes to finding malicious activity on a network? Anybody?
There's one called
BlackBuntu.
Came out shortly after BackTrack did.
Is it Black?
I haven't checked it in the past.
That's all right. I'll just see if I can find it. Buntu, right?
Yep, BlackBuntu.
Yep, there it is. It's a Ubuntu distro. It's a penetration testing which is specifically designed for security training students and practitioners of information security. That might be a good one to look at. BlackBuntu. I'll put that one in here.
There's one for testing the network in general issues. It's a piece of hardware.
What is it now?
It's called the Boom plug, PWM plug.
I'll just put other distros.
The hardware device that has its own version when it's on it.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of scary what it actually does.
And what's the name of it?
The Boom plug, PWM plug.
BWN?
Yeah, plug. PWM plug.
PWN plug.
Be the phone plug.
The CIA and NSA are actually buying these things now to test their networks.
They have a Poon Plug Elite.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that it?
Plug.
Well, what's this do now?
Set it and forget it, and it'll hack the network for you if it's possible.
First enterprise class penetration testing Dropbox. Sweet, I like that.
This thing's actually like scary because you can plug it into a magnet and look into their network. And it looks like a wall adapter.
Yeah, I like that.
They've got one out now for penetration testing.
It's only $995.
Hey, if you're using it for the right purpose, your investment is guaranteed.
Damn steal right there.
They got one out for penetration testing of Bluetooth devices
Yeah.
called the Ubertooth, I think is what they call it.
Ubertooth. I've heard of that one, I think. Ubertooth, right? All one word?
All one word.
Yeah, Project Ubertooth. I'll bookmark that one. These are great sites, guys. Anybody else? Anything you've heard of network security wise or during your research, for your research paper, maybe you want to throw at us? No? Okay, well, I'll go ahead and save that and I'll put that in our week's folder. This Thursday, no class, Thanksgiving. So this PowerPoint that we just went over where you guys added stuff to, I'll put this in week 14 where you can grab onto all the URLs and all the links, all the downloads. But the one I'd probably stress the most, if you leave out of anything tonight, from tonight, what I talked about is a Katana. Katana is the one I definitely highly recommend. It only